What's up, guys? I'm BTC. Welcome back to the Respawn, where I answer your questions. Today is the After BlizzCon special. Let's get started. First question, are you disappointed in the lack of PvP content in Overwatch 2? Not really. Kind of pretty much got what I expected. There was going to be lots of PvE stuff, a leveling system, talents, all that sort of deal. And I expected it to be more of kind of what we have with the archive missions. So pretty much got exactly what I was expecting. As far as PvP, I mean, there's really not too much that they could have done. I mean, they did add a new competitive mode, which is push. So they did add that, which is good. They definitely added a little bit more to PvP. I think it would have been neat if they had kind of a versus mode with the story campaigns, kind of like what you have with the Left 4 Dead series and all that sort of stuff. That would have been neat. But really, I mean, I wasn't expecting them to add lots of PvP content. Next question, do you think that Overwatch 2 will have seasonal events? Yes, but it's pretty much just going to be the same thing that we have with Overwatch 1, right? Like, if there's a Halloween event, then it's going to be in both games. I do not see them ever having separate events that only apply to Overwatch 1 or only apply to Overwatch 2. They're going to make sure that both of those games get new content, whether it's skins or sprays and that sort of stuff. Now, it's possible that Overwatch 2 might get something a little bit extra just because they have the PvE mode, right? So maybe there's an event-themed ability or an attack or something that shows up during one of the campaign modes or the hero story modes or something like that. That's a possibility, but I think the vast majority of the seasonal content will be in both games. Bit of a follow-up question, since Overwatch 2 is coming out with a campaign mode, will the Archives event be replaced by a new seasonal event? I don't really think so. So Blizzard has talked about Overwatch 2, and they're basically taking the story and moving it forward. They're trying to progress the character arcs and all that other stuff. However, they've also said that they are still interested in talking about and showing some of the origin stories for the characters and just showing what happened in the past. And the archived missions are probably the best way for them to tell that. Now, they could still do that in Overwatch 2 as well, but there is a way that they can still have the archive mission, sure. However, I do want to point out that they have confirmed that this upcoming archive mission for next year will not have any new content as far as the story modes and campaign modes. It's still going to have Uprising, Retribution, and Storm Rising, and that's it. Now, they're still going to add new character skins and emotes and sprays and that other stuff, but there's not going to be any new actual story mode missions for the upcoming Archives event because they are focusing on Overwatch 2. But are they going to completely get rid of it? Maybe at some point, but I think they can still use it for other stuff in the future. So it might be worth keeping around. Next up, what's going to happen to Overwatch while Overwatch 2 is still in development? Well, they're still going to release new stuff. It's just going to be at a much slower pace. So we can expect new balance patches and things like that. We are going to get the map pool system, which is supposed to be on the PTR sometime, either this week or next week. And there's also going to be some new stuff for the events, but it's going to be mostly in the form of just new character skins and sprays and stuff. I don't expect any new game modes at all for any of the new events that we're going to get, as I mentioned with the Archives missions, right? They're just going to have the same stuff from the previous year. As far as new heroes, we know that we're going to get at least one before Overwatch 2 releases. However, it does seem like they might just want to release the one character and then release a whole bunch of them all at the same time when Overwatch 2 gets released, or when Overwatch 2 is getting close to being released. Because remember, these characters are also going to be put into Overwatch 1 at the same time. So they might end up putting them on the Overwatch 1 PTR just to kind of test them out and all that sort of stuff before they fully get put into the game. But the content is definitely going to be slower. As far as new maps, I'm not really sure. They do have a whole bunch of maps that they've been working on. So just how many of them are they going to release before Overwatch 2? I'm not really certain. I do think at least a couple, though. I think with next year's Overwatch League, they are going to want to have that new push game mode in there because they're going to want to have that excitement level, and they want to introduce new things into the Overwatch League because that's very important for them. So I do think that we're going to get the push game mode into the game before Overwatch 2 ever happens. But again, we'll have to wait and see. But overall, there will be new stuff. It's just going to be way, way slower than before. Next up, do you think that Echo and/or Sojourn will be released to the PTR before Overwatch 2 comes out? Well, they confirmed that Sojourn is an Overwatch 2 hero and will not be in the game until Overwatch 2 gets released. So that one is definitely thrown out. Echo, on the other hand, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, there are a couple of other characters like Maga and whatnot that could be added, but I think Echo seems to be the most likely candidate at this point because we've now seen the character in a couple of animated shorts. We've also seen what she can do in the most recent one, how she flies around and she shoots the lasers and pew 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 and all that sort of stuff. So it does seem like Echo is probably going to be the next character. Next question, with the ability to adjust and equip abilities, could we possibly see Torbjorn's 3rd level turret return for PvE in the campaign and the hero story modes and stuff? Yes, absolutely. I think that is almost certainly going to happen. We've already seen them show off some other variations of the turret where he could throw out the small ones and they attack with fire instead of the normal stuff. So I think it's very likely we're going to see the level 3 come back, and we'll probably see some other variations as well. Do you expect Overwatch 1 will become free to play once Overwatch 2 is released? Right away? No, I don't see that happening. Because if they made it free to play right away when Overwatch 2 got released, then they would lose so much in the sales for Overwatch 2, because anyone that was considering playing the game wouldn't buy Overwatch 2. They would just go and set up a free-to-play Overwatch 1 account, and they would just play it on that. Yeah, some of them might end up buying Overwatch 2, but I think overall it would be a net loss in sales. If they do ever make Overwatch 1 free-to-play, I don't think it's going to be until at least a year or maybe 2 years after Overwatch 2 is fully released, because they want to make as much money as they can off of the release of Overwatch 2, and making the first one free to play right away, no, that'd just be a bad idea. Next up, do you think the push maps will entirely replace 2 Capture Point in the Overwatch League so that there's never a map draw? I don't think so. I think that they definitely want to include the push game mode in the Overwatch League for next year, as I mentioned earlier, but I don't think they're going to completely replace any of the previous game modes. I don't think Blizzard is really willing to recognize that a very large amount of the player base just don't like the 2 Capture Point maps, and they're trying really, really hard to just kind of keep them in the game. And I just don't see them completely replacing it. Now, it's possible that the map pools that they have for the different stages of the Overwatch League may include, you know, this map type and this map type and whatever. And it's possible that they may exclude 2 Capture Point in 1 or 2 of the stages. I don't see them just getting rid of it entirely. I think they're really trying hard to keep that stuff in the game, and I just don't see them getting rid of it entirely. Next up, how much do you think Overwatch 2 will be, and when do you think it'll come out? For price point, I think it's going to be a $50 or $60 game. I don't really see it going much lower than that. They're treating it as if it is a full-on separate sequel game. I mean, yeah, there's some kind of special circumstances around it where you can still play with the other ones, but they are treating it like it's a full-on, unique, separate game. You're going to have access to all of the PvP stuff. You have access to all the new PvE campaign stuff. It's probably going to be a $50 or $60 game. And as far as when is it going to come out, I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. From the way they were talking, it sounds like it's not going to be available until after BlizzCon next year. Now, it's possible they might have a beta that's available around the time of next BlizzCon, but I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't come out until late November, December, or possibly even January after next year's BlizzCon. So it's going to be a while, would be my guess. They don't have any concrete data on when the release date is going to be, but I think it's going to be a very long time. Next up, how do you feel about the map pool? Well, I think it's a good idea. I'm not really sure if it goes far enough. So what this system is going to do is limit the number of maps in the competitive ladder. This system is supposed to be on the PTR for testing either this week or next week, and essentially it's supposed to solve 2 problems. First, it gets rid of certain problematic maps that people just don't really like. The two that are being taken out right away are Paris and Horizon Lunar Colony. And also, the other reason for this sort of thing is just so that when you're playing in a competitive scene, you want to be able to practice and learn strategies for a smaller number of maps just so that you can improve and get better. But when you have to play on a huge amount of maps, then it just kind of limits the amount of strategy that you can learn, and it just makes it more difficult. This is why pro tournaments and all that sort of stuff always have a limited map pool. It just makes for better games. And I mean, it's a good step forward. However, I still think that a map selection prior to queuing up would be better, where you get to pick something like 5 or 8 maps or something in that range, and those are the maps that you play on. I think map selection is a better system because it ensures that you get to play on the maps that you actually enjoy playing on, and it also gives Blizzard useful information about what maps people don't like playing on. Because if you have 60-70% of the player base avoiding one particular map, then hey, they know that there's an issue with that map and that people don't like it. So they need to kind of look at it. Even if the map is balanced, right? Even if attackers and defenders are close to a 50-50 when it comes to wins and losses and stuff, if people aren't playing it, then clearly there's a problem. So I think map selection would be better, but map pool is a little bit better than what we have, but I do think that it could go a little further. That's going to be all the questions for this week. Thank you to everyone who submitted one. Remember, I post the question card every Saturday on the community tab of my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and if you'd like to see more, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss anything. Also, come hang out in my Discord server and my Twitch live stream. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters. If you'd like to see what kind of cool VIP rewards you can get, check the links down below. And remember, always blame the controller because it's never your fault.